Okay, I just got back from a 13-day hitchhike all around Europe, and I thought the first part was for Race to Berlin, and the second part was just me on holiday. And so I thought while the memory was fresh in my mind, I would sit down and I would make a video journal of what exactly happened because I'm going to forget some of it. Um, Lots of people want to know what's going on, so you can check out the other videos too that'll describe other parts of the trip. But basically, we set off on Monday morning, the 26th of January, and we got on a bus in the morning. 250 of us met in the quad, and we got on a bus in the morning to Edinburgh. That's where they were going to drop us off. And so about 40 people on that bus. We thought they were going to drop people off on the way, like along the way to Edinburgh. Turns out, no. They basically pull up to the main train station in Edinburgh and dropped everybody off. So we went to the main train station. We had like 60 people to contend with, all trying to get on free trains down to London. And we were asking conductors, we were asking guards on the trains, and nobody would let us on. And we found a group of about 8 people that had a note written from the information office at the train station that said that they could get on for free and had 2 contact numbers for you to call if anyone tried to contest it. So we were with them and got on with that group. So it was about a dozen of us. And it was perfect. It was a train to London. It was going to take 6 hours. We were going to be in London by 4 in the afternoon. Everything was fine. The guards were just skipping over our entire group every time they did their rounds to check tickets. And everything was fine until they changed guards in Newcastle. We were on the train for about an hour and a half, and they switched guards in Newcastle. And the second security guard then comes around and says, who has the note? I need to check it out. And we're thinking, okay. So he takes the note. And we see him go off and make a phone call, and we weren't too worried until we heard him say, "You didn't authorize this?" Okay, hold on. And so he called the second number on the sheet, and that's when we started to get worried. So he called the second number, and apparently they couldn't authorize it either. So he came back to us and said the reason was because we weren't insured on National Express, so if something happened, none of us were insured, which we thought was fair enough. He said he was supposed to charge us for Edinburgh to York, which was the next stop, but he wasn't going to do that. We just had to get off the train. So, we thought he was being pretty fair. So, train stops in York, we get off, and we go to the information desk at the train station to try to find out if we could get on another line of trains, if we could get on a bus or something, find out where the bus station is. And as we're in line at the information desk, this big security guard comes up to us and says, basically, if you don't have a ticket, you're not getting on any train. And we tried to explain to him, look, it's for charity, we're doing this to raise money. And as we're talking to him, the transport police come up behind us and escort us out of the York train station. Apparently the guard had phoned ahead and notified the train station that we'd be asking for free rides, and the train station had in turn called the police. So 2 hours in, and we already had police escorts. So we wandered around York for a while, tried to get out of the city. Stopped in a bar to ask someone where the nearest road was that led out of town, and he lived in York, and he didn't know. And we're not the brightest people. His excuse was he doesn't drive, so he doesn't know what road leads out of town. Not the brightest person. But we finally found out where we needed to walk. Walked about 3 miles outside of town, where we caught a bus for free to Selby, which is just down the road. And then once we got to Selby, the connecting bus to Doncaster was going to be 45 minutes. So we thought, well, we might as well actually try to hitchhike in the meantime. Maybe we can get somewhere. So we had this huge banner that said, "Help us race to Berlin," and had a German flag and a Union Jack on it. So we unveiled that and tried to get picked up. And it took us about 20 minutes, and we got our first ride from some guy that said he couldn't take us really far, but he could take us down the road to a roundabout where it would be more likely that we could get picked up. So we took a ride with him, got dropped off down by this huge roundabout, and stood there for about 15 minutes until this lorry driver stopped by and picked us up and told us he could take us about 15 miles to a like rest stop truck station thing where we could probably get a ride down to London. So we got in the car with him, but the only problem was the car was so small, it was really only built for 3 people, and we had to cram 4 into it, plus all of our shit. So I basically had to ride the entire time sitting on Travis's lap for the 15 miles to the car park. And we got to the car park, had something to eat, and then we noticed there were two other Race to Berlin teams at the car park. Neither of them had been dropped off in Edinburgh, and both of them had made it 3 hours from where they were dropped off at the same time we had. One of them was from Stirling, and I think the other was from Glasgow. So we figured we weren't going to get anything in the car park because there were 3 teams there. So we went out and we stood at the roundabout that led onto the A1, which goes south towards London, and unveiled our banner again.